Yes, you guessed it, it is shootout time, something we haven't done on Ignition GT for a long time. And true to form, wherever I'm involved, it's always going to be about performance. But, as is the case with any good threesome, you need partners.
After my previous jaunts in performance vehicles on Ignition GT, the guys have sort of stripped cornering capabilities away from me. So I'll be doing the straight line stuff. I'll be testing the 0 to 100, but performance cars are not only about straight line acceleration, they need to be able to stop as well. So it's going to be 0 to 100 and back to 0 again, testing their braking as well.
The thing about performance cars is that they tend to be a bit hard and stiff when it comes to chassis and handling. We're here to find out which one of these vehicles would be the most practical to live with day to day when you're off the track.
The Rock Raceway is known for its drifting action, but it's actually got a pretty interesting technical little handling section. The idea for this challenge, an out-and-out hot lap shootout. What makes it so interesting though is we've got all-wheel drive, we've got rear-wheel drive, we've got front-wheel drive. There's different horsepowers, they've got different diff systems working as well. So this is going to be the ultimate test to see who can deliver it on the track when it counts.
The first car up for the 0 to 100 and back to 0 test is the BMW M235i. Its rear-wheel drive layout and 450 newtons of torque make it a firm favourite to take the win here. It's not too difficult to get it off the line, although with the nanny aids disengaged, the 245 section tyres still need to be nursed for grip. It took just under 10 seconds for the BMW to complete the test, each and every run very consistent. The Subaru Impreza WRX STI is up next, and with the centre differential locked, I just know the Scooby's going to be quick off the mark. Slipping the clutch proved futile, so the only way to get it off the line is to launch it in the red. Despite this, it is still bogging down a little, and then it needs a shift to third before hitting 100 kilometers an hour. The Brembo brakes are doing their bit, and the STI checks up quick and true, even if I was expecting a little more. Run number 2 was a repeat affair, and a notchy shift into third meant that I could only muster a single 9-second pass. The front-wheel drive and slightly heavier Astra OPC is a tricky one. Front-wheel drive doesn't like to be launched hard and will just light up the front wheels if you're not careful. Finding second gear on the runs is not easy, and the motor needs to be short-shifted to keep it in boost. Its saving grace is the amazing brakes. What it loses out in acceleration, it certainly makes up for in deceleration. Despite this, I can't get it to crack the 10-second barrier. The slippery front-wheel drive and lethargic shifts to second seem to be its downfall at the end. There we go, no surprises, the BMW comes out on top. Rear-wheel drive, the biggest motor, the most power and the most torque as well. It's got a fantastic gearbox, and 100 k's an hour was reached in second gear, which saved us one shift. The Subaru Impreza WRX STI though finishes up in second place. That one battled a bit with a notchy gearbox, had to hit third in order to get 100, and then of course there's all the different settings for the diff and the power delivery. That just brought it down a little bit. I'm sure we could get another 9-second pass out of that one if we just experiment with the settings a little more. The OPC is going to finish last, but it is a heavyweight. It is the heaviest of the lot, and it is front-wheel drive. Its saving grace, though, is the amazing brakes. Did battle it a little bit to find second gear on that one, though. So, best box, BMW. Best traction, definitely the Subaru. Best brakes, toss-up between the BMW and that OPC. The BMW takes this one, taking 3 points home, while the Subaru will have to settle with 2 points for coming in second. We'll award a single point to the OPC for bringing up the rear.
We are conducting the most scientific experiment ever in automotive history. Basically what we're doing is that we've taken a bucket, we've put it on the seat, and then we've taped a glass into it, and we've topped that up with Powerade, and we're just going to drive on a normal road and see how much liquid content is left afterwards. And basically what this will determine is the ride quality and the handling of the vehicle. Now we're in the BMW M235i, and we're not going to use any of the modes other than the comfort mode, because that's what you'd normally drive in. But we're just going to see how much of this Energade, Powerade, any one of the aids remains in the glass. I must say though, it does feel comfortable. Average speeds that we're doing here is 35, so we're bouncing between 30 and 40. Very smooth ride. We're in the Astra OPC. Now obviously you've got the OPC mode, which we're not going to use. We've got the sport mode, which we're also not going to use. We're going to stick to normal driving conditions, but that's going to be the eco mode. All right, 35. Seem to be losing quite a bit. Some nasty bumps. Ooh, that is a big one. Well, we don't seem to be losing much more. Going back to 35. Okay, we're going to try the same experiments in the WRX, the only sedan we have for the day. Basically what they've done is that they've stiffened up everything from the bushes to the chassis by just over 20% from the previous model. And you can actually feel it. It feels firmer, it feels well seated, it feels balanced. But we seem to be losing a lot of juice. We're averaging speeds of 35 kilometers again. It's absorbing the impacts really nicely. You actually don't feel the bumps. But obviously our scientific experiment says otherwise. With science, we have just proved the obvious, that the BMW M235i is the most road compliant. It actually feels the most comfortable of the three. The OPC, even though it feels comfortable because of the seats, still has a stiff suspension, and that managed to lose us a lot of liquid. Lastly, and not surprisingly, the WRX feels the stiffest, is the firmest, and as a result lost us a lot of liquid, which means it's not road compliant. It's excellent for the track, but not to live with day to day.
Wow, what a rare treat, driving a performance BMW in manual, guys, and what a great gearbox too. Even though we were only using second and third around the tight circuit, the 6-speed box was faultless. But the biggest downfall, running an open differential. You can't get the drive out the corners, nor can you keep momentum on a power slide. And that's why modifications were needed on the differential for that flash mob drifting advert that you saw them doing in Cape Town. And as a result, this rear-wheel drive pocket rocket tends to push the nose. Sure, it's fun to drive, but it's no precision driving tool. The Opel Astra OPC only comes with a 6-speed manual gearbox. Now, I don't recall having any issues with this box when the car launched last year, but this test unit hated a quick shift to second. Bloody frustrating. And as you can imagine, some real technical wizardry is required if you are wanting to put 206 kilowatts down on the black stuff through the front wheels, and Opel have done a fantastic job here. Watts-Link on the rear axle gives you that lateral stability that you need and allows you to place that car exactly where you want it through the corners. They have flex-ride chassis system, and they have high-performance front struts, which really do help to counteract torque steer, something the previous generation really struggled with. But the real winner for me is the twin-plate mechanical limited slip diff. It works really well without being overly aggressive on feedback through the wheel. Altogether, all of these things make this heavy supermodel twinkle its toes around our circuit. Well, just like the Astra, it's 6-speed manual or nothing in the Subaru. Good. Yeah, and it's pretty slick too. Well, they have stiffened everything that can be stiffened in the new SGR, which is fantastic news for track mode, but most significant for me is what they've done with the front end. Not only has the steering rack been quickened, but finally, active torque vectoring. Not new technology, but finally Subaru has it. It breaks the inside wheel. What it does, eliminates that horrible all-wheel drive understeer that you usually get, and it works beautifully. The driver-controlled central diff also works really well and gives you as a driver plenty of options to play with. The mechanical and electronic diff work together to send power where it's needed most. Yes, it's a fantastic, fun car to drive, yet somehow I just felt disconnected from the whole experience. I guess the command-style driving position had a lot to do with that. With 240 kilowatts, the M235 is the most powerful car we've got at our shootout. Turn the traction off, it's going to leave you with the biggest smile on your face. But around our tight technical little circuit, you really had to adopt the slow in, fast out approach, because what it struggled with was front end grip. I reckon you slap an M diff in that, when the M2 comes, it's going to be a beast. Heading on to our Scooby, why did you guys not bring out torque vectoring like 15 years ago when Evo did it? Because it has transformed this all-wheel drive car. No more understeer, the front turns in, really, really impressive. Driver selected center diff as well, really makes you fiddle around with different settings. The least powerful of the bunch, but what it does have is a Watts Link rear setup, a flex ride chassis, big Brembo brakes. This car with mechanical diff was an absolute beast. Great change in direction, really, really impressive. So which was the fastest? You're not going to believe it. Exactly like we've lined them up.
If it was my money and I had to buy one, live with it every day, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, it would be the BMW. If I had to rent one and hand it back after thrashing it, it's going to be the Subaru Impreza WRX STI. And that means that I'm just going to have to walk away and forget about the OPC.
Of the three cars, I would definitely buy the WRX. It feels firm, which I like, so you feel connected to your drive, you feel every single thing, and you feel like you're actually in control of what the car is doing. I would rent out the BMW because it looks good, you can play around with it, but it's not something I'd keep every day. And the OPC just should not have been an option.
What an interesting shootout. Different drivetrains, different kilowatts, different prices. Now I've got to choose buy, rent, and could buy. I'm going to buy the Astra OPC. Let me tell you why. It is an absolute beauty to look at. This for me is what a hot hatch should always look like. Super unique styling. They've stuck to their guns with it, and there are not a lot of them on the road, so you are going to stand out. They say at just under 500,000, maybe it's too expensive, especially when you compare it to Megane RS, another one of my favorites. But when you stack it up against competitors, it's like 100,000 Rand cheaper. So it offers real good value for money and bang for buck. It also comes with a 5-year, 120,000 Rand warranty. That's peace of mind, and that's why I'm going to buy it. To rent, I'm going to rent the BMW. Let me tell you why. 550,000 Rand is where it starts, but come on, we know how it works with the option list. If you want it to look like that, you're going to be close to 700,000 Rand probably. So why do I want to rent it? Because I want somebody to spend all the money speccing it up, and I'm going to trash the tires, because I'm going to turn the traction off, and I'm going to be hanging it out sideways and boasting about it and having fun with my mates and scaring the living daylights out of the neighbors, and then I'm going to give the car back, not having to worry about the maintenance and having to look after it. Sadly, we've got to say goodbye to the Scooby. 600,000 Rand. It looks good, but it's just too firm a ride, and I don't think it's value for money, sadly so.